Now, so hi everyone, my name is Bart Smykla and welcome everyone at our bi-weekly K8s Infra working group meeting. At the beginning, I want to remind everyone about our code of conduct, which we can summarize as be excellent to each other. I don't see anyone new, so let's jump into our agenda. Billing review. I think this is the week where, maybe differently. Team, is there anything particular you want to discuss right now? Team Hawking.
Sorry, I was on the wrong window. Do I not have video? I'm sorry, I can't seem to get video. I don't have anything in particular. Let me think real quickly. I don't know if Linus is here. Linus, you can talk about when I have to disappear in a few minutes. You can talk about the plans for the domain flip. And I think that's really the big one on my mind. Otherwise, it's been a pretty quiet week or two.
It's a lot. I have a question for you because I've spent a lot of time like doing research, preparing ourselves to the Terraform rewriting.
Okay.
And I need to have like a fresh audit to compare.
A fresh audit because
I'm comparing because I did like a whole research about components and resources which we are creating and using, and it looks like there are some gaps in the.
Okay, and so you want to compare like a before and after?
So compare, because I manually check all scripts and what they are creating, which components are they creating, and I'm comparing them with the audit ones, so the IEMs and the services and everything, and it looks like there are some differences.
There probably are. We should do a full audit. That would actually be a lot of I won't say fun, but it would be a lot of work. You should be able to run the audit script if you're in the auditors group. There's a separate group for that. If that's not true, then we need to fix the permissions for the auditors group because that was the goal.
Okay, so no worries. Then I will, if I'm not on the group, I will create a pull request and I will run.
Okay.
It. Okay, that's it from me.
And if you're, because I've got higher privileges than that. If I've added something to that audit script that the auditors group can't run, let me know and we'll figure out what permissions we need for that.
Okay, no worries. When I finish this, my work, I will send a link and email about it. So.
Okay. And totally open to improvements in the audit script. Right now, it dumps a lot of JSON and other stuff that probably could be filtered and formatted better.
Actually, I can already send the link for my analysis because it's so big already that it's but this is working thing for now, so don't.
Okay. All right, let me open that before I disappear. Okay. Anybody else have anything that they would like me to do before I disappear?
I was going to try monkeying around with creating a trusted build cluster in the next 2 weeks. Is that something you have an opinion on, Tim?
What does trusted mean here?
Trusted means someplace to run all of the jobs that currently run in Prow's trusted build cluster, which turns out to be the same cluster that Prow runs on. We call it trusted because there are secrets there that we don't want exposed to all of the other pre-submit and post-submit jobs that run code that comes in from the public. So this would be things like the container image promoter, any of the image builder jobs, things of that nature.
So we put all of our trusted secrets in one cluster, so if we lose one, we lose them all?
It's more about reducing access to those secrets.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was being snarky. I think that's fine if you want to. Well, okay, yeah. That's sorry. I'm thinking out loud. That's fine. Do you want to play with it in a playground project, or do you want to just play with it in the real project? Like, how much playing do you think you need to do versus just doing it?
I am not sure off the top of my head right now. So I will get back to you on that. I just wanted to make sure you were cool with me starting down that path.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it's almost time to start looking at the next tier of things, and Prow is certainly a large item on the list of things I'd love to see converted.
Right. Okay.
Okay. All right, then I'm going to drop off. I'm sorry. Today was a bad day for me. I will look for the mailing list.
No worries. See you
Thanks
later.
all.
Okay, so actually, let's start from the beginning a little bit. And maybe there is somebody who would like to do notes. I didn't ask about it.
I can do notes.
Perfect. So billing review, I think it's a time. Justin, can I ask you about help with that?
Yes, I can share the spreadsheet. I don't think I have, normally Tim does the cross comparison, but spreadsheet, I can share the report. I have it up in a window, which I will try to share with the group. I don't think it's too surprising. There is one interesting thing, which is, sorry, I have too many tabs. While I scroll through, as normal, people should be able to receive this. It is a public report. Sorry, I'm just scrolling through, filling time while I scroll through my many, many windows. And
don't worry. Maybe when we are doing that, there will be a new item because we added last week the new pool for the project who needs more memory. Well, the first project was Pervdash, who is taking like 8 gigs of when being initialized. So it's not moved yet, but the pool is already there, and there is like a one instance per region so far.
yeah, should I go through the report? I don't know if we're ready.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yes, so I think you can see the report. It should have a big blue screen saying we spent over the last 28 days $1,500. And if I page down, there we are. The interesting thing, I guess, is that our cloud build spend seems to have gone way down. Other than that, everything is more or less ticking along. Cloud storage seems to have gone down as well, which is perhaps more surprising because that implies we deleted something, but we can scroll through. GCE is, I think, pretty much as we'd expect. Cloud build.
Sorry to bother you. I think that it can be something related with the coronavirus and people working from home, shifting, etc. Because it looks like that is going down for everything is happening like from a week or two.
Yes, they can look. Yeah, it's very possible. It looks like it's going almost to zero. So I'm wondering whether they actually just turned off some of their jobs. But if we look at there is a nicer one here, which shows like the versus previous month-to-month changes. And so that's where these ones are highlighted. So we are spending 50% more on compute engine, which could be your RAM thing. And we are spending about, so far, 50% less, though I think that's heavily on cloud build. So I think that's heavily skewed to, it looks like our primary consumer of cloud build may have stopped doing their cloud builds. And we are spending a lot more on cloud storage, 600% up, but still not really a lot of money, I would say, like $450. And that cloud storage, we do have a report for this one. And so we can see that, yeah, that is there, but we don't yet have any more insight into exactly who is using, I guess, a fairly substantial amount of storage, I would guess.
I would guess that the increase or general usage of the prod bucket is due to the legacy images being imported, right? So we should see a bit of a bump in the next report, probably.
Great. I don't know whether the whether those container images go into. Oh, yeah, this is by project. Yeah, you're absolutely right. So I guess it would be nice to have a breakdown by bucket. So we could tell what was files and what was images. And maybe that's the next breakdown, because I don't think we have that right now. Just so we can confirm that. But yes, that does sound like a likely hypothesis, and I'll try to add a screen that shows breakdown by bucket, so we can confirm that it is in the bucket that backs GCR rather than the other bucket. Because yes, this is the biggest surprise of our vetting report, I'd say, this week.
Yeah.
The biggest negative surprise.
Sounds good, but at least we have an explanation for it, and hopefully that's the correct explanation. So.
Okay, so I think that it will be fine for now. The next topic, I think we can ask Linus how about things going with the container image promoter.
Yeah, so I guess as Tim mentioned, the most important thing that's happening in 2 weeks' time is the vanity domain flip. This is the domain switch from the old prod Google Containers to the new prod K8s Artifacts prod. I forget how much has been communicated to the community, but internally we know that the switch won't happen instantly because for various reasons we purposely push out, do production rollouts like slowly. Probably it will take around 4 days. I think that was the number that was given to us. So really the kickoff event will be on April 1st, not April Fools, it's for reals, but it won't be any dramatic like switch where, oh yeah, like it's instantly flipped now. It's more like, have we done all the checks and preparations to make sure that switching to the new prod is okay? So that check will happen in that meeting. I think it's 10 o'clock on April 1st. Maybe I should add it to the calendar somewhere. So that's happening. A few days before that, probably around March 27th, I think is a Friday, we will stop making changes to Google Containers to sort of put it in a freeze, a read-only freeze. This really impacts mostly Googlers who also contribute to open source. They have already been notified, but I will probably send out another email or communication probably today because it's 2 weeks from now. And so that's the domain flip. We have not gotten any big pushbacks or anything like that, or any people screaming or complaining about it yet. So I don't know, maybe we'll get some feedback this time around when I send out email today. But apart from that, I guess the other couple items are one, the backup of the new prod. This is K8s Artifacts prod. So just so everybody knows, there are roughly 30,000 images, unique images in production, new prod. And the way the backup works today is that it backs up all 3 regions, Europe, Asia, US. So that's actually times 3, so 90,000 images. And you saw this, Aaron, well, you probably saw it, but I changed the time from 1 hour to 12 hours, and that still has not fixed the problem apparently, because I checked the logs for the last run, and it failed after roughly 2 hours. So I think I'll have to change how we back up things, because now that I think about it, this would probably, the way we back up things right now, which is copying all 30,000 images in each region, maybe that's not the best way to do things. Off the top of my head, I think just doing one region would be enough if we know that all three regions are identical, which they should be. So yeah, we need to make that work without exceeding quota. Maybe we might even have to do like a sleep 1 hour or something in the job to make GCR happy. Because yeah, I don't know how else would you create new images. So just so that everybody knows, the way the backup works is that essentially we just do a dumb copy of every image into a new like prefix. So it's like timestamp. So, you know, year, month, day, hour. So there will be a slightly new prefix. So that means that even though, let's say nothing changed for all 30,000 images, GCR would still need to basically create 30,000 like metadata, you know, database entries for each tag or each prefix. I mean, that's how, you know, their internal backend. So we still hit them for 30,000 like, you know, things like you need to do these changes. So yeah, even if there's no delta, there's still a large delta for GCR. I think that's why we're getting like exceeding quota.
Can you send a link to the current script which we are using to backup?
Yeah.
If that's the case, aren't we just going to continue hitting this and DOSing ourselves? Like, unless we can raise that quota, it seems like we need to do this differently fundamentally.
So that's another option. Maybe I need to ask them as in, I guess, the GCR team. But also, it will.
I feel like.
Yeah, go ahead.
I feel like that route is probably unlikely. It seems surprising to create 30,000 images in an hour.
Yeah,
on
so
one registry.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that it actually takes it will take more than an hour, I think, to create.
Can we not ourselves know which hashes we've backed up and like? I suppose maybe I need to go do some reading. I don't understand why we need to make timestamped entries for these things.
I mean, so the point is to do, well, the script, the backup script is very simple. It's literally gcrane copy -r. That's it. And we just give it a new prefix so that GCR does the deduplication and, you know, they do all that work for us. So it's literally one line of code that we wrote. So we could optimize and say, okay, so look at the last, you know, backup entry, look at the delta, and only do a incremental backup. That would certainly save us time. So that's another option that we could go for. But I need to we should write down all of these different.
So in the meantime, we actually probably can't keep running this because this actually blocked us rolling out fixes to the general infrastructure because we were banned from GCR for massively exceeding quota.
Oh, okay.
So there was a bad change to Prow, and we couldn't roll up a fix because it couldn't pull the updated images.
I'm currently doing the backup job for all the regions. So the smallest fix would be run it in one region, add a different check that just checks that all regions are in sync, because that should be doable without the copy operation. Basically just read in and then compare hashes. So that we basically say, is the US in sync with everything else, which it should be. So that check should be there anyway, in theory. And then only do the 30,000 image copy. And overall, we could, just thinking here, do it split, like how the realistic backup scenario in general would be? Like what are the most recent images of the last 6 months or something, or maybe, and that is done in an hour because that's the most important part probably, and then all the legacy images might only happen in a backup full backup on a Sunday, maybe over the time frame of like 24 hours or something. It's not perfect, but at least we don't block our access to GCR or something.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll have to consider those ideas as well. I mean, maybe, yeah, like separating the different classes of images, because the legacy ones, yeah, they won't change ever. True. So on the other hand, the other sub-projects will grow once we change the domain name. But yeah, that's something to keep in mind. I guess for now, we can turn it off. Because I have a feeling, what Ben was suggesting earlier, the backup will take probably, yeah, unless we change it to optimize the number of copies, it will probably take over an hour, maybe 2 or 3 hours to run to do a full copy of even the 30,000 images. So I have a feeling that will exceed quota.
Do we?
Okay, so that's one topic. Sorry, go
I was
ahead.
just going to ask, like, do we know what specific quotas we're dealing with here? Like, I don't know. I'm looking and it says something about like a maximum number of requests for container registry.
Is that the general like help page that you're looking at, or?
Yeah.
Okay. That's probably what we're hitting. I mean, unless we have some special arrangement with.
Right. Yeah. Like I wasn't sure if, we're talking about minimizing copying and things like that, if we think we're hitting a quota just for writing stuff, or if, we need to be mindful of a quota that includes what we read as well.
I think it includes what we read, because the Gcrane tool, as far as I'm aware, it does skip over things that have already been copied or something. Although I am not the author of that tool, so maybe I'm wrong. Okay, so so that's that. I guess for now, just to sum it up, I think I can turn off the backups until we get a better optimized way
this is what motivated me to try and get a build cluster up and running.
Yes.
In this group's project, so that we could, you could play around with running the job there, and it might end up like banning the nodes in that build cluster, but that wouldn't disrupt the cluster that Prow runs on.
Prow runs on, correct.
So I'll work with you offline on that.
Okay.
Also, instead of turning it off completely, what's the general attack vector we're trying to save here? That basically the whole repo isn't there, right?
Right now, anywhere the job runs, whichever node the job runs on runs out of GCR quota, which prevents us, and it gets that node basically banned for what seems like longer than an hour. And we are then unable to update Prow if Prow happens to be running components on that node in the cluster.
All right, and Gcrane doesn't have a rate limiting, so we can't really add something because we just use the plain copy operation. So we can't stretch it out to like say 24 hours or maybe a week in backup operation.
Well, I mean, first thing we're gonna have to get it off of that cluster because it's blocking us from managing all of the rest of the CI infrastructure. When we spin it back up, though, it probably will take a while to figure it out. I think even with some kind of optimized thing, probably just all the read calls to all those images is a lot. And you could maybe rate limit it, but then I mean, as we get more images, we're just going to make the backups less and less able to keep up to date. It probably needs a different approach, but we should have that experimented with somewhere that is not going to get our main infrastructure banned.
So I have a question, because we can do some things to improve it, but maybe there is somebody who we can talk about maybe improving this, bumping this quota. Is it even possible?
I'm pretty sure this is we can ask, but I'm pretty sure this is a fixed quota, because this is not a thing that you're charged for or something. It's just avoiding abuse, and copying 30,000 images by surprise is kind of abusive.
Yeah, true. Okay, but I think that we can just ask. Maybe there is something we can do.
So interesting. So Crane itself does an efficient copy, as far as I understood the code, that does only write the index if the image is there, but that still is just the write operations that are being the issue. So it's not really the copy in general, but even like an efficient copy is just because we use it, we back it up into an additional prefix instead of like overriding it. It still creates the 30,000 index write operations, basically, I think.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was saying about, I mean, I don't know the internal details, but, you know, I mean, as far as when it finishes, there will be at least, you know, 30,000 rows, whatever it is, you know, database updates that has to happen because the paths are different. Yeah, the prefixes are different. So, yeah. But I would like to move on to another topic, which is for the promoters image auditing tool. There's a PR that Justin is looking over at this very moment. That is the tool that will run in Cloud Run to check for changes in GCR and to verify whether that transaction mutation of state is good or bad. That fixes a bug in the current, so there's a bug in the current implementation where we do not check correctly the child images of a fat manifest. So if you have fat manifest with digest A, it has children B, C, D, E. If we see a change of, you know, insert tag or digest E, obviously digest E is not in the promoter manifest because it's just a child. We only have the, you know, digest A written in the promoter manifest as a parent. It needs to check that properly, and I have a PR up. Justin's reviewing it. I would like to get it merged soon so that we can have it working properly. I've been getting emails, by the way, for the new K8s Artifacts prod project. So the current auditor right now, when it runs with that bug, it will scream and yell and say, hey, you have all these images being uploaded. They are not verified. They've been mostly around the new PRs, because we get PRs once every day or two. Like the recent ones have been from Cluster, was it Stage Cluster API? So I've been ignoring those alerts. I haven't checked every single alert. That is every single different, you know, digest that, you know, rings a bell or, you know, creates an alert, because that would be too much work. Instead, I will, before the, or actually on the day, 2 weeks from now, when we do the flip, before we do the flip, I will check that the stuff in the promoter manifest that we have align with what we have in production, just to do like a quick check. That's actually very quick and easy to do. Just reading all the images takes like 15 seconds to read all 30,000, actually 90,000, I think, or 30,000 images. Yeah. So I'll do that, you know, at that point to make sure that all the changes are okay. I think that's about it for the promoter. Yeah.
Do you need any help from us at any stage?
Right now, it would be just the PR that is under review for the auditing part. That's PR number 199 in the promoter repo. Have you had a look at that, Justin?
I have not yet had a proper look at it. I will. We talked about it yesterday. I will have another look at it today.
Okay.
We took
I started reading through it, but have not gotten all the way there.
Yeah, also we'll look at it. So there is no other topic I can see here, but I want to like give update. What I was doing, I was focusing much more about documentation, as I said before, and I'm doing the analysis for the current infrastructure provisioning tooling. I'm trying to understand all roles, IAMs, etc. So I will be asking a lot of questions for people because I want to when I will finish, I want to make it a documentation, make documentation from this analysis which I'm doing right now, and after that, I will focus on the observability and monitoring for our clusters.
So I had a random question. Sorry, I didn't put it on the agenda. How do I know what's running on the trusted cluster? Or let me try and put it this way. Like, I went to the K8s.io repo and tried to find like a document or maybe some kind of canonical directory with manifests that was like, these are all the things that are deployed to the trusted or to the AAA cluster. And I couldn't find that. So
also the case that there is no document like that. There are 4 things which are running. You, of course, when you will be digging into the scripts, you can find those, but that's one of the things which I'm working at. This is GC Web right now. This is staging. One second, I forgot. One moment.
is the DNS redirector running there?
No, I don't think so. At least not. No, definitely not yet. There is GCS Web. No, I'm wrong. The redirector is there, and there is also. I can find it right now.
Okay, well, I think this maybe just answered my broader question. Like,
But what my goal is and what I want to suggest my the analysis right now is also will move us to use the Terraform for that purpose too, because right now there is everything which we are deploying to this new cluster, to AAA cluster, is done manually. So we are putting the manifests, but the manifests need to be applied by a human who has permissions at this point. And what I want to do when we will move to the Terraform, I would like to suggest that if your project can be deployed using some existing providers like Kubernetes provider, we can do it with Terraform.
So basically, all the Kubernetes configuration would then be Terraformified to also be applied within the AAA cluster, right?
If it will be possible, because it is, as I said, right now when you are creating you need to run the script called namespaces ensure namespace, and inside you need to put your project name, and when the script will be fired, your namespace with the role and everything will be created for you. Then you will have an access for this particular project and namespace as a human, and then you need to deploy it there. And there is no connection between, you need to put your code and manifest into the K8s.io repository, and then something will apply these changes to the cluster. Everything is done manually at this point. So this will be the next step. First, we need to put the things into the Terraform. Then I want to suggest, okay, we have the current infrastructure resources in Terraform. Let's move it further. The next step would be to actually suggest using Terraform and automating this to apply these projects with Terraform. The next step would be, but this is a kind of new thing, is because we wrote our tool for the groups, and Google Groups management. And actually, we also can do that with Terraform using the G Suite provider. So instead of having one big groups.yam file, we could do it, I feel, better and easier to read and maintain in the future using Terraform. So it will remove all bash scripts for us. It will remove the need for having like a groups.yaml and scripts for provisioning these groups. It will also remove the need of manual applying the projects to the new infrastructure. So we have like a 3 or 4 things in one place. Done by one solution.
Okay, so we basically have a reconciliation loop running Terraform apply for the whole cluster, including keeping in sync with the G Suite
Yes.
Terraform code, basically.
Yes and no. I would like to suggest. So we can do it in multiple ways. This is the thing which we can discuss, because I don't want to have only one, one configuration which will be doing everything. So there will be everything in loop. I would like to have, possibility, for example, to just apply, that there's new project which is going to the cluster. Let's just run the resources for that purpose. And also it would be helpful then maybe in the future we will decide, okay, it's safe enough, everything is working correctly, we will want to automate it using, I don't know, like GitHub actions or something. And then if we will have that, we can say, okay, this directory changed, let's run only this particular parts of our tooling.
Okay. So I appreciate that we don't have a perfect configuration-driven, automated, continuous deployment solution to reconcile the various resources we make in the cloud everywhere. But I do kind of feel like before we jump directly to Terraform as the solution to everything, we need to make sure we've appropriately scoped the problem and gotten consensus on the solution.
Definitely agree.
So, but what I feel like is lacking right now is something that documents the state of today.
So this is exactly what I'm doing. I just sent the link with what I'm analyzing what scripts are creating which components. And when I will finish that, it will be a great place for, okay, these are the components which are being created right now. What are we doing with them? I'm not saying that we decided we do everything with Terraform. This will be the point where we'll be discussing this. At this point, this is the suggestion which I feel like most of the people agreed on. But what I want to achieve is to have at least to know the state of the world right now, then move to the discussion about, okay, we know what we need, what we are doing with that. Okay, then we can agree or not about Terraform for the things which already exist. And when we will finish this part, then we can talk about, automating and deploying the projects or automating, the groups, etc.
So
I mean,
I agree that Terraform probably cleans up a lot of the general how everything is needs to be like written and like moving away from the bash part. But one thing that I think I got from Aaron's comment was currently we have humans in the reconciliation loop, and that's a really problematic factor in terms of refactoring, iterating, and automating. That's, for example, holds up the Terraform part as well. So with us moving to Terraform without actually having a solution for taking the human out of the reconciliation, we just move to a different language instead of, or at least that's how it interpreted it, is that without the reconciliation solution being there, we just shift around the problem on how it's written, not on how it's deployed.
So I kind of meant the opposite, I guess, or my preference is the opposite, that I would rather, as we iterate on some kind of reconciliation loop, that continues to be done by humans in case anything goes completely wild or crazy. I am wary of turning on automation right away. It tends to accelerate the cycle with which we can, it tends to accelerate shooting ourselves in the foot, has been my experience, if you haven't really had the chance to exercise it. What I was asking for was, so Bart, I am reading through your stuff. It is extremely thorough, but I think I was asking for something a little more like rule book or handbook, that the humans who are involved in the reconciliation loop today, how do they know what to do?
Yes.
Could we write down what they do so that it might be possible to onboard people to help this in case those critical folks become unavailable, and B, that kind of just lets us know what the state of today is operationally.
Yeah, I agree, and I want to have that kind of documentation. I didn't plan to do it partially, right? What we need to be done right now. I was thinking about first analyzing what is the state actually right now, so what the components are there, and then with that in mind, I'm also inside this analysis putting the links where we are creating these components and what it should, as a result, should show us what is in our infrastructure right now. You can partially check it going through the audit files, but it is, I was doing this last week and it is kind of tricky. There's not everything there, and you need to be aware a little bit how it's structured, etc. But I agree about the documentation. I will think about doing quickly something for people. But overall, my main goal would be to get a proper documentation with the components, why these IAMs are provided, and etc., etc., etc.
Yeah. Okay. All right, I will try to help. I'll see if I can reach out to some of the folks who run the things and see if I can get information out of their heads about how they do what they do.
I think that when I was digging into the scripts, I kind of have idea. I didn't run these scripts because I don't have permissions, but I have idea what and when needs to be done. So if you have direct questions, definitely I think at least direct you which parts of our scripts are doing that kind of thing. But what I know right now, that we are already using Terraform to provision the AAA cluster and the two pools which we have. And we also the people are running the auditing script, the people are running the bash scripts for ensuring these storage things, the namespaces thing, and everything else is done manually.
Sure. Okay. I don't want to take everybody else's time continuing to talk about this. I will ping you offline.
No worries. Another.
Yeah, there's one thing. So you reached out, I think, for the last meeting to shortly give an update on the redirector. So we currently use Nginx for the redirect, and how it's set up, it's basically a single Nginx config file. And in the long run, especially enabling 6 to basically have their own redirects in the future, that just provides a single point of issue. So that was the idea, to base it on DNS and the specific tool being TextDirect. And last time I couldn't be here, and this time the last 2 weeks were chaotic, so only giving a short update. So behind the scenes, we're basically working on bringing the tool itself up to speed on the edge cases of the Nginx configuration. So we're basically converted the whole configuration of the Nginx into DNS records, basically using that configuration to set up our tests end-to-end so that these cases that we already have in the current redirector are basically tested well in different types of flavors, let's say that. And then when we have all the edge cases bugged out and basically the next release, hopefully next month, then we should be able to basically get everything up to speed to try out the first thing, which is not the full Nginx file being converted, but only the go.kubernetes.io. So the smallest part, where we wanted to basically test the whole thing first to have a good base to build on, so we can basically be sure that the minimal thing works perfectly. And then we can, with that base, we can see iterating further what makes sense to pull out of the Nginx into something that is a bit more self-contained. And with that, we basically have the option to give every SIG their own path, which is controlled by DNS records. So as long as the SIG has access to their own domain or record, they basically have access to their own URL shortener if they want to. And because DNS is hierarchical structured, that maps well to community and community groups being self-organized, kind of. So that's the general idea, and hopefully that works out.
Okay, thank you for update. Any questions?
Can you restate that last part? I'm not sure I quite caught it. Were you saying that every, like, potentially any DNS record could act as a URL shortener?
So basically how it works is that the domain itself, say go.kubernetes.io, has the ability, because there's a mapping between the path to a subdomain, and because subdomains can be delegated to a CNAME, the parent record could CNAME a specific path basically to a SIG, and then the SIG has their own DNS zone file where they can basically add new records, and these records map to a redirect on the parent zone and on the parent redirect engine, if you want to call it that.
Are we actually planning to allow people to make unmoderated, like, SIG specific, like, so most of the places where we have SIGs doing things on their own, it's sort of like actually namespace. I think for like Go links that would get kind of weird, like go.clusterlifecycle.k8s.io or something. Most other places, there's just a group that manages this. Like if you want a GitHub repo, you ask the GitHub admin team, and that's the delegation for, like, there's intentionally a bus factor because it's a flat namespace.
So the first step, and that's the first idea, is just having it in sort of a better mapping to a non-flat namespace. So instead of everything having to go through basically Tim and DIMS currently for the Nginx configuration, we could have the ability to say, okay, everything that is and a specific path for, say, SIG contributors, they could decide on their own. And that basically we are moving away from the one single instance of the decision to more of a collaborative thing.
But isn't it one go.k8s.io/something, or are we trying to make one per SIG with like go.sigfoo.k8s.io? Because if we're not making one per SIG, then it's still one instance, and the DNS records go through one group of people today.
Yes, and so it's still the same instance. So it's one instance running that is doing the redirects. It's for now, and that's the short-term goal, is it's still going through the same DNS records, but how the mapping works, it might be nicer to be split up on, even if it's still the same people, and we could bring in like because how we manage the DNS records currently, we could allow sub directories being controlled by its own owner file. So Paris could come in and say, okay, everything that is basically DNS related to that redirect could be managed by SIG contributors instead
Except
of
that
contribute.
Paris is
Yeah.
still going to need to ping like Tim or Dims or me to like push the DNS changes.
But currently, yes. But the plan for the DNS change is that we automate the DNS changes anyway.
Yeah, I'm still not aware of a plan that makes that actually viable yet, though.
True. But so we have to separate probably the short term, the midterm, and the long term, where the short term is trying to better have a better control of not just having a single Nginx file with a lot of edge cases to something that might be more contributable to. And then the second, the midterm part is maybe split it out to different groups that can pre-review changes. And then long term, if we ever decide that, we could open up the general option to basically push their own redirects from like a SIG perspective. Like SIG release wants to have a specific redirect for a release or something like that. They could push that and review it on their own because it's under their namespace in the redirect area. But that's not planned, let's say that. That's just an option that is being thought about during implementing the first two stages.
Okay, that helped me understand where we're at and where we're headed. Thank you.
Thanks. If any questions, happy to go into detail. Not here, but like ping me or something.
Okay, any other topics? Questions, suggestions? Okay, so I'm thinking we can give everybody like a 7 minutes back. Everybody's okay with that?
Sounds good.
So thank you very much for being here and see you in 2 weeks.
See ya and stay healthy.
Thanks, everybody.